Good afternoon, everyone. We will begin shortly. We're just waiting for one of our panelists as she just dropped out because of internet connectivity. Just give us a couple of minutes so that she joins us back. We will begin the webinar exactly in 2 minutes, that is at 12:05. This webinar is about Reggio Emilia approach, and sorry for the delay to all our participants who have been waiting since 12 o'clock because one of our panelists is having a short problem because of the electricity connection. The moment she joins us, we will begin our webinar. Thank you for your patience, and please feel free to send messages in chat and interact with each other before we begin the webinar. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on Reggio Emilia approach. Apologies for the delay as we had a short glitch due to internet connectivity. I would like to introduce myself. I am Neha Amatya, and I am the project manager of Adhyayan Learning Center, Training and Learning Center, which is associated with Adhyayan School. And today we are doing this webinar on Reggio Emilia approach, which is followed by Adhyayan School and Adhyayan Preschool. We have two panelists today who are going to talk you through the basics of Reggio and to introduce them. Our first panelist today is Yajyu Manandhar. Yajyu Manandhar is an upcoming artist, educator, Atelierista, who uses art as a medium to bring creativity and positivity in children's minds. He has previously worked as a photographer, video editor, children's book illustrator, and museum officer in multiple organizations across Nepal. He has participated in multiple national, international exhibitions to showcase his work, few to name: micro galleries, Sagarmatha, Border, Chautari, Under the Shade, and many more. Yajyu received his intermediate from Sujana College of Fine Arts and BFA in Studio Art from Kathmandu University. He has received courses on art in education and also uses art therapy to cope with children's psychology. Our second panelist is Sujana Shakya. Sujana is one of the most enterprising educators in Nepal's early childhood sector. She has 12 plus years of experience in this field and has recently been spearheading the Reggio Emilia transformation at Adhyayan. Sujana has a bachelor's degree in business management and has previously worked in reputed organizations like EuroKids and Kids Campus. She is also a certified registered behavior technician and has previously worked with autistic kids in various national and international programs. She is also a co-founder of social enterprise named CWB Nepal, which focuses on empowering marginalized women, especially earthquake victims, by providing hands-on training and jobs in manufacturing and production industry. To begin our today's discussion about Reggio Emilia, Sujana will be taking over by starting the presentation. Sujana, would you like to unmute yourself and begin the presentation?
Well, thank you so much, Neha ma'am. Good afternoon and namaste. This is Sujana Shakya, and today we will be talking about what is Reggio, where did it come from, what is 100 language, and also we'll be talking about the principles of Reggio Emilia. So firstly, talking about its history, Reggio Emilia is actually a name of a city that lies in a northern part of Italy. And this philosophy with the city bearing this name was developed only after World War III. World War means we can imagine that state of terror, fear, anxiety, and a lot more things of negative things that could impact our mind. And even the parents of Reggio Emilia, that time, they were very much worried about what the future of the child might become. Even we can take an example of this current situation, like this COVID-19. We are not worried that we might get infected or affected, but we are so much terrified that because of us, our parents might get affected. So likewise, in that time, the parents of Reggio Emilia, they really wanted to create an education system for their child so that where the child would be the contributors of their learning and the whole education system would not become a burden to them. That time, the normal family, they were the very normal family, like the farmers, normal women, factory workers, and all. So they didn't have that much of authority that they could go to some construction site or hire some inspector for making a building. But all they got the courage from themselves. They brought the bricks from the bombed houses, sand from the river. They brought rugs as a curtain, and the farmers, they donated their land for making this learning center. So, seeing so much of dedication, Loris Malaguzzi, who was just an elementary school teacher, got so much inspired that he felt like doing something for this community. So, Loris Malaguzzi, who later became a psychologist and also philosopher, he dedicated his whole life in as he was also a teacher. He used his experience of teaching and also got much more learnings about the other philosophers and psychologists like Lev Vygotsky, John Dewey, David Hawkins, and many more. And finally, he was successful to make this pedagogy a better one for the early childhood education system. In next slide, our Yajyu will be talking about what is Reggio Emilia.
Thank you. So I'll be talking about what actually is Reggio Emilia. So Reggio Emilia basically is an innovative and inspiring approach towards early childhood education. And what it really believes in is that child has 100 languages. It has 100 languages that it uses to express. And in the next slide, I'll be talking about Reggio Emilia approach and what it actually is. So, like we talked about, it's an innovative and inspiring approach towards early childhood education. It is something that is directed towards the pre-primary students, and something that's very much directed towards the early development of the child. And it is an approach which is based on interrelationship. So the interrelationship here defines not only the relationship between the teacher and the student, but also the environment and also the community as a whole. So the interrelationship goes all the way around the child, and it's not just limited to few people. And the value, Reggio Emilia approach values child as someone who is very capable and someone who's very strong, resilient, who is very rich with wonder and is able to gain knowledge. And it's focused on preschool and primary education, like we talked about. And it's very much influenced by the theory of Lev Vygotsky, who was a Soviet philosopher, psychologist. And then he worked on this theory called cognitive theory, which attempts to explain the human behavior by the understanding of the thought process. There are lots of patterns that we work around with in our daily lives. There are lots of thinking patterns, and it transforms us. And this Reggio Emilia approach tries to work on those patterns, tries to work on those thought processes to have a very constructive one. And it expresses, and art here plays very much major role. And the art not only means somewhat like drawing and painting, but somewhat more like expressive art. And next slide, Sujana will be explaining about the principles.
So talking about the principles or the core values of Reggio Emilia approach, there are actually 9 pillars that makes a Reggio-inspired school. So the first one is image of the child. So usually what's happening is like right after the child is 2 or 3 years, हामीले हतार के हुन्छ बच्चालाई स्कुल पठाउने चाहे बच्चालाई इच्छा होस् नहोस्, but we have our concept that जति चाँडै बच्चालाई चाहिँ स्कुलमा पुर्याइदिउँ त्यति चाँडै नै बच्चाले पढ्ने लेख्ने भएपछि चाहिँ ठुलो मान्छे बन्छ भन्ने we have that kind of assumption. And मानुस् नमानुस् बच्चालाई रहर होस् नहोस्, what we do is we force them to learn the alphabets, numbers, college name भन्यो, class name भन्यो, and different. We just try to put everything into the child man that is according to our that we expected. But we also know that 80 to 90% of the brain gets developed at the age of 5, until the age of 5. So do you really think that the child with that much capacity of learning or grasping things are only able to learn the things that we only taught them, we only teach them? I think this is not fair enough to judge the child that way. Jस्तै अब we have so much of complaints like मेरो बच्चाले B लाई D लेख्छ or D लाई B लेख्छ, or we even compare our children with other kids. जस्तै मेरो बच्चाले एबिसिडी लेख्नै आएको छैन, लुक एट द अदर किड्स, दे क्यान स्पिक इन इङ्ग्लिस होइन, एकदम कम्पेयर गर्ने अनि त्यो कम्पिटिसनमा बच्चाहरूलाई इन्भल्भ गराएर वाट वी डु इज वी आर फोर्सिङ द चाइल्ड। अनि बच्चाले पढ्न त पढ्ला, बुझ्नु त बुझ्ला, बट एक्चुली द्याट इज त्यो रहरले भन्दा पनि कर र डरले पढिरहेको हुन्छ एक्चुली। अब जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल तपाईँ आफैलाई नै लिनुहोस् न है, अब जस्तै तपाईँ एकजना इन्डिभिजुअल हुनुहुन्छ, तपाईँलाई कुनै विदेशमा लगेर छोड्यो, वे यु डोन्ट नो दि ल्याङ्ग्वेजेस, अनि ल्याङ्ग्वेजेस पनि थाहा छैन, त्यहाँको लाइफस्टाइल पनि थाहा छैन होइन भने वन्ट यु गेट पजल, तपाईँलाई चाहिँ कन्फ्युजन हुँदैन होला? Obviously it will take time for you to adjust there and know the things around. So बच्चाको लागि पनि the world is full of wonder. उनीहरूले धेरै चिज लर्न गरिरहेको हुन्छ, हामीले सोच्दाखेरि यत्रो सानो बच्चा के मान्ला के बुझ्ला भनेर एकदम नेग्लेक्ट गरिरहेको हुन्छ, विच इज रङ एक्चुली। बच्चाले सबै चिज एनालाइज गरिरहेको हुन्छ आफ्नो अराउन्डमा के भइरहेको छ भने। सो त्यसरी हामीले कहिले पनि बच्चाहरूलाई त्यसरी जज चाहिँ गर्नु हुँदैन। अब उनीहरूको पर्सेप्सन अनुसार उनीहरूले चिजहरू बुझिरहेको हुन्छ, कुनै ट्रु होला कुनै अनट्रु होला, बट द्याट्स ओके। उनीहरूको जस्तो पनि इमेजिनेसन अनुसारको वर्ल्ड छ, उनीहरूलाई होइन छैन भनेर त्यसरी कहिले पनि नेगेटिभ इम्प्याक्ट चाहिँ पार्नु हुँदैन बच्चामा है। त्यसै लाइकवाइज रेजियो फिलोसफी बिलिभ्स इन इमर्जन करिकुलम। सो इमर्जन करिकुलम भनेको चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दाखेरि इट क्यान इमर्ज एनिवेयर, we don't have any fixed curriculum. फिक्स्ड किन हुन्न भन्दाखेरि जस्तै तपाईँको फिक्स्ड हुने बित्तिकै अब एकदम मोनोटोनस हुन्छ, बच्चाहरूको इन्ट्रेस्ट धेरै भइरहेको हुन्छ, उनीहरूले पढ्न सक्ने चिज धेरै भइरहेको हुन्छ, बट वाट वी डु इज बुक अनुसारको पढौँ, बुक अनुसारको टर्मिनल एक्जामिनेसनहरू लिउँ, अनि एक्जाम लिए अनुसार उहाँलाई अब ग्रेडिङ गरौँ, अब राम्रो मार्क्स पायो भने ओके द्याट चाइल्ड इज अ भेरी ब्रिलियन्ट चाइल्ड, बट होइन हामीले पढाएको आएन, अर बच्चाको चाहिँ लो ग्रेड्स भयो भने ओके दिस चाइल्ड इज भेरी पुअर, ही हेज टु वर्क सो हार्ड भनेर त्यसरी अजम्पसन गरिदिइहाल्छौँ। बट एक्चुली त्यस्तो गर्नु हुँदैन। इमर्सन करिकुलम भनेको चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दाखेरि लाइक आई सेड इट क्यान इमर्ज फ्रम एनीवेयर, बी इट इन अ करिडोर, डाइनिङ हल, वासरुम, अब एसेम्ब्ली हुनसक्छ, क्लासरुम हुनसक्छ, स्कुलको भ्यानमा हुनसक्छ। बच्चाले डिफ्रेन्ट मिडियम्सबाट चाहिँ आफ्नो एक्सप्रेसन आफ्नो फिलिङ्सहरू चाहिँ एक्सप्रेस गरिरहेको हुन्छ, बी इट इन अ पिस अफ आर्ट, सानो बोलीबाट किन नहोस् होइन, कुनै रियाक्सनबाट किन नहोस्, फेसियल एक्सप्रेसनबाट किन नहोस्, रिसमा किन नहोस् होइन, दे हेभ सेभरल मिन्स, सेभरल वेज टु एक्सप्रेस देमसेल्फ भने त्यही चिजहरू त्यो बच्चाले चाहिँ कतिखेर के पोख्छ आफ्नो फिलिङ्सहरू सेयर गर्छ भनेर चाहिँ रेजियो टिचर विल अलवेज अब्जर्भ द्याट चाइल्ड, सो द्याट अब बच्चाले त्यो ओके त्यो बच्चाले त्यो चिज देखाउने बित्तिकै वी क्यान नो द्याट ओके यो बच्चालाई चाहिँ यो चिजमा इन्ट्रेस्ट भइरहेछ है भनेर हामीलाई थाहा हुन्छ। फर इक्जाम्पल अब यस एभ्री चाइल्ड इज डिफ्रेन्ट, कोही बच्चालाई फ्लावर मन पर्ला, अरू कोही बच्चालाई कार मन पर्ला, अरू कसैलाई कार्टुन, अरू कसैलाई अब रोबोट्सहरू मन पर्ला। अब त्यो चिज त्यो मनपर्ने चिज थाहा पाउने बित्तिकै कसरी बच्चाहरूलाई पढाउने भन्दाखेरि फर इक्जाम्पल फ्लावर मनपर्छ अरे, अब त्यो फ्लावर मनपर्ने बित्तिकै वी क्यान टिच अ लट मोर थिङ्स अबाउट फ्लावर। फ्लावर भन्ने बित्तिकै लेटर एफ आउँछ, एफ फर फ्लावर, वाट कम्स बिफोर एफ अर वाट कम्स आफ्टर एफ भन्ने बित्तिकै डी र जी पनि पढाउनु मिल्छ। लाइकवाइज वाट इज द कलर अफ द्याट फ्लावर भन्ने बित्तिकै डिफ्रेन्ट काइन्ड्स अफ फ्लावर्सहरू देखाएर उहाँलाई डिफ्रेन्ट कलर्सहरूको पनि इन्ट्रोडक्सन गराउनु मिल्छ। त्यसै गरी अब वेन डु वी युज फ्लावर, डेमा कि नाइटमा भन्ने बित्तिकै डे नाइटको कन्सेप्ट पनि त्यहाँबाट पढाउन मिल्यो होइन। त्यसै गरी अब फेस्टिभल्सको कुराहरू आउन सक्छ, डिफ्रेन्ट काइन्ड अफ फेस्टिभल्सहरू पढाउन मिल्यो होइन। सो त्यसरी चाहिँ कुनै पनि एउटा इन्ट्रेस्टको पोइन्टलाई पक्रेपछि चाहिँ टिचरले चाहिँ दे विल कन्भर्ट इट इन्टु द सिलेबस or the next chapter so that बच्चाको इन्ट्रेस्टमै revolve around. Likewise, immersion curriculum हुने बित्तिकै the other point is project based approach. Why do we call it project based approach is that अब again बच्चाको इन्ट्रेस्ट डिफ्रेन्ट चिजमा हुन सक्छ, कुनै इन्ट्रेस्ट छोटकरीमा बुझाउन मिल्छ भने कुनै चिजलाई it might take time, and because the Reggio Emilia believes in the real life experience, कुनै चेन्जेसहरू चाहिँ हुनलाई will have to wait होइन। जस्तै अब क्लाइमेटिक चेन्जेसहरू भयो, वाइ समर इज हट अर वाइ विन्टर इज कोल्ड, अर लिभ्सको कलर किन चेन्ज हुन्छ त, पहिला ग्रिन हुन्छ पछि फेरि येलो हुन्छ पछि फेरि त्यो झर्छ, वाइ भन्दाखेरि विल हेभ टु मेक देम वेट। सो सिजन अनुसार पढाउँदाखेरि चिल्ड्रेनको कन्सेप्ट पनि बन्दै जान्छ, ओके यो सिजनमा चाहिँ यस्तो हुन्छ, सो दिस इज अ नेचुरल फेनोमेन, यसरी चाहिँ भएको हुँदो रहेछ भनेर they'll understand. That's why the project based approach मा चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दा कुनै चाहिँ short term project कुनै चाहिँ long term project हुन्छ. अब short term भन्ने बित्तिकै sometime अब child might get attracted to insects हैन. अब insects हुने बित्तिकै ओके एक दिनमा अब insects को बारेमा सिकायो भन्ने बित्तिकै short term project मा लान मिल्यो, or it might be some kind of fruits, or it might be some kind of construction going on हैन. त्यसरी चाहिँ emergent curriculumलाई पनि प्रोजेक्ट वाइज चाहिँ हामीले सर्ट टर्म र लङ टर्ममा चाहिँ डिभाइड भएर बच्चाहरूलाई पढाइरहेको हुन्छ. लाइकवाइज रोल अफ अ रेजियो टिचर, एक्चुली अ रेजियो टिचर इज लिटल बिट युनिक देन एनी अदर टिचर. कसरी भन्दाखेरि जस्तै अब कुनै पनि टिचर क्लासमा एन्टर गर्नु अगाडि चाहिँ they'll have pre-planned lessons हुन्छ नि. एभ्रिथिङ इज इन द माइन्ड. ओके यतिखेर यति यो गराउने, यो बच्चालाई यो अनुसारको चिजको यो एक्टिभिटी गराउने, माने मान्छ नमाने ठिकै छ म गाली गर्छु और जसरी भए पनि गराउँछु बिकज क्लासवर्क त गराउनु पर्यो, होमवर्क त पठाउनै पर्यो भनेर त्यो मेन्टालिटी लिएर छिरेको हुन्छ भने रेजियो टिचर इज नट लाइक द्याट. दे विल डेफिनेटली ह्याभ दोज काइन्ड अफ प्लान्स बट दे विल वर्क एज अ ब्याकअप प्लान होइन. फर्स्टमा रेजियो टिचरले के गर्नुहुन्छ भन्दाखेरि रेजियो टिचर इज एन अब्जर्भर. बच्चाले अघि भनेको जस्तै कतिखेर रियाक्ट गरिरहेको छ त, घरबाट निस्किने बित्तिकै भ्यानमा केही कन्भर्सेसन भइरहेको छ कि, अब क्लासरुममा केही बोलिरहेको बेला अब केही चिज अब आउट अफ द टपिक केही निकालिरहेको छ कि होइन, रिसमा देखाइरहेको छ कि. सो कसरी कहाँ हुन्छ बच्चालाई अब्जर्भ गरिरहेको हुन्छ, बट अब्जर्भ एज इन 24 घण्टा त्यसरी नै अब त्यो गिद्धको नजरले हेर्ने होइन कि एज अ डिसेन्ट एन्ड अ भेरी साइलेन्ट अब्जर्भर. किनभने कति बच्चाहरूले गरिरहेको चिज हामीले हेर्न साथ दिल स्टप डुइङ इट नि त. सो त्यसरी बदर नहुने गरेर द टिचर विल अलवेज अब्जर्भ द्याट चाइल्ड. बरु कसरी हुन्छ त्यो बच्चाले अब कुदिरहेछ भने उहाँसँगै कुदेर हुन्छ कि केही चिज ड्र गरिरहेछ भने उसलाई बिच बिचमा क्वेसन्सहरू सोधेर हुन्छ कि होइन. सो त्यसरी अब्जर्भ गरिरहेको हुन्छ. लाइकवाइज दे आर अल्सो द रिसर्चर. किन भन्दाखेरि अब लाइक वी नो सबै बच्चाको इन्ट्रेस्ट त एउटै हुँदैन अनि लर्निङ प्याटर्न पनि सेम हुँदैन. सो त्यो तरिकाले बुझेन भने वाट इज द नेक्स्ट अप्सन होइन, अर्को तरिका पनि त होला भनेर दे किप अन रिसर्चिङ दिज थिङ्स सो मच सो द्याट कुनै पनि क्लास सकेपछि स्कुलको नर्मल डे एन्ड भएपछि अल द टिचर दे ग्यादर टुगेदर एन्ड दे डिस्कस अबाउट वाट ह्यापन्ड. ओके मेरो बच्चाले आज यसरी रियाक्ट गर्यो नि, और मेरो बच्चाले यस्तो चिज लिएर आयो नि, घरको कुरा यस्तो सेयर गर्यो, और बाहिर जाँदाखेरि यो उसलाई एकदम मन पर्यो भन्ने बित्तिकै दे विल गेट अ हिन्ट. रेजियो टिचर विल गेट अ हिन्ट. त्यसलाई भोलि टपिक बनाएर कसरी पढाउने और कस्तो खालको एक्टिभिटिज चाहिँ प्लान गर्ने भनेर दे विल डु रिसर्च एन्ड अल्सो प्लान द एक्टिभिटिज फर द नेक्स्ट डे. एन्ड दे आर अल्सो कल्ड को लर्नर्स. किनभने अब डिफ्रेन्ट बच्चाहरूलाई बुझ्दाखेरि दे अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड यो बच्चालाई यो मनपर्छ, ओके यो बच्चालाई चाहिँ यो तरिकाले पढायो भने बुझ्छ भनेर डिफ्रेन्ट टाइप्स अफ चिल्ड्रन्सहरूलाई चाहिँ उहाँले बुझेर आफै पनि लर्न गरिराख्नुहुन्छ. द्याट्स वाइ दे आर को लर्नर. Likewise, environment as a third teacher. अब usually we say that आजकलको बच्चा they are super smart होइन, एकदम फास्ट फरवर्डेड हुनुहुन्छ, और कोही बच्चाहरू दे आर भेरी डम, सेयरै नगर्ने, बोल्दै नबोल्ने भनेर हामी आफै बच्चालाई देख्ने बित्तिकै उनीहरूको नेचर देख्ने बित्तिकै हामी आफै बोलिदिइहाल्छौँ कि बच्चाले डिस्क्राइब गरिदिइहाल्छौँ. एक्चुली किन हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि दिस ह्यापन्ड ओन्ली बिकज of the influence from the environment. Kosto environment ma the child is getting nurtured, or what kind of environment is the environment is there the child is spending his most of the time. जस्तै बच्चाले केही बुझ्दैन भनेर we might be doing something, तर बच्चाले बुझिरहेको हुन्छ कि त्यस्तो चिजहरू. अब कुनै चाहिने हुनसक्छ, कुनै नचाहिने हुनसक्छ, बट इन अर्डर टु मेक इट अ हेल्दी वान द इन्भाइरोमेन्ट सुड बी रिसोर्सफुल भन्ने बित्तिकै इट सुड बी फुल अफ रिसोर्सेस होइन. इट सुड बी फिल्ड विथ lots and lots of opportunities and even the challenges, so that the child will come to you and ask question to you like why is it happening or why does it exist होइन. उनीहरू आफै आएर तपाईँलाई क्वेसन सोधोस् न कि आऊ पढ्ने बेला भयो यो बुकमा हेर यो च्याप्टर पढेर आऊ भन्नुभएको छ सो यही पढ्नुपर्छ, बुझेन किन बुझेन भनेर त्यसरी गाली गर्नु जरुरी नै छैन नि. एक्चुली बच्चाको इन्ट्रेस्टलाई मजाले क्याप्चर गर्न सक्यो भने त मजाले घुमाएर पढाउन मिल्छ त. We don't always have to force that child neither. That's why environment also plays a vital role in Reggio Emilia approach. Likewise, Atelier or Piazza. So Atelier is moreover, it is moreover like a maker space. So what we usually do is जब पनि हामी बच्चालाई केही चिज गर्न दिन्छौँ We have hundred and tens of directions, होइन? Because we know हाम्रो बच्चालाई पर्फेक्ट बनाउनु पर्छ भन्ने नै मेन्टालिटी छ कि. सो अब डिरेक्सन एज इन यो नगर त्यो नगर, यो बााउन्ड्री भन्दा किन बाहिर कलर गरेको, यो सर्कल भन्दा भित्रै गर, नच्यात, फोरो नगर, नकोर, होइन? तपाईँ आफै सोच्नुहोस् न, यु आर सो मच इन्ट्रेस्टेड टु डु समथिङ बट देयर आर पिपल बगिङ यु अराउन्ड भने तपाईँलाई गर्न मन लाग्छ होला त्यस्तो चिज. सो बच्चाहरू पनि त्यही, दे आर अफ सेम ब्लड, उनीहरूलाई पनि त त्यस्तै इमोसन्स हुन्छ, त्यस्तै फिलिङ्सहरू आउँछ नि त. सो त्यसरी घरिघरि न्याक गर्न इज नट गुड. सो अटेलियर इज द्याट काइन्ड अफ प्लेस. त्यो एउटा त्यस्तो स्पेस हो जहाँ चिल्ड्रेन आर फ्री टु डु एनिथिङ एन्ड दे क्यान एन्टर द्याट अटेलियर वेन नेभर दे फिल क्रिएटिभ. त्यहाँ कसैले पनि उनीहरूलाई न्याक गर्दैन, दे आर फ्री टु डु. अब कार्पेटमा पेन्ट पोखेला ओर वालमा फोरो होला भनेर त्यस्तो कसैले पनि रोक्दैन बच्चाहरूलाई. सो एभ्री रेजियो इन्सपायर्ड स्कुल सुड ह्याभ एन अटेलियर भनेर भन्छ. सो पियाजा इज अल्सो इट्स लाइक अ मोर ओभर ओपन स्पेस जहाँ चाहिँ इन्टरेक्सन्सहरू भइरहेको हुन्छ. अब सानोले ठुलोलाई भेट्ने अर ठुलोलाई सानो भेट्ने अर गेम खेल्ने, त्यस्तै अब जस्ट इन्टरेक्सन हुने प्लेस हो यो चाहिँ. इट्स अ ओपन स्पेस, एनीबडी क्यान कम एट एनी टाइम. अनि लाइकवाइज द अदर पोइन्ट इज अटेलियरिस्टा. सो हु इज अटेलियरिस्टा भन्दाखेरि he or she is the in charge of atelier, and he or she is also from the background of art. Because अब यो किन हुन जरुरी छ भन्दाखेरि I think I just believe that creativity is a boon, होइन? सबैजना क्रिएटिभ नै भएर they don't get birth, होइन? सबैजना क्रिएटिभ हुन्छ भन्ने पनि छैन. बट क्रिएटिभ नहुने बित्तिकै रेजियोको टिचरै नहुन पाउने चाहिँ होइन कि. बिकज Reggio Inspired School मा चाहिँ there will be this beautiful character called Atelierista. So उहाँले चाहिँ के गर्नुहुन्छ भन्दाखेरि मोस्ट अफ द टाइम अब टिचर स्टुडेन्टलाई केही क्वेसन आएन भने who will the child run? टिचरका, होइन? ओर अब एडमिनको स्टाफलाई केही चिज कन्फ्युजन भयो भने कहाँ जानुहुन्छ? म्यानेजमेन्टमा जानुहुन्छ. बट टिचरलाई अब त्यो डिफ्रेन्ट काइन्ड अफ बच्चाहरूलाई बुझ्नलाई कहिले कहिले आउँदैन दिमागमा, कसरी पढाउने भन्ने चिजै थाहा हुँदैन. सो त्यस्तो बेला कहाँ जान्छ? whom will he or she run भन्दाखेरि the answer is Atelierista. So उहाँलाई we will have a Atelierista who will guide us how to plan our curriculum or how to plan activities that is related to early childhood development system, which Yajyu will also talk about it a bit later. Likewise, the other point is parents and community involvement. So normally हामी पेरेन्ट्स कसरी लिन्छौँ भन्दाखेरि हु इज पेरेन्ट भन्नु पर्दाखेरि he or she is someone whom we report about the child. जस्तो सुकै क्यारेक्टर्सहरू हामीले एनालाइज गर्यो बच्चालाई देखेर, we just reported to them, होइन? तर रेजियो इन्सपायर्ड स्कुलमा एन्ड रेजियो फिलोसफीले चाहिँ के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि पेरेन्ट्स आर अल्सो द कोलाबोरेटर्स अफ द चाइल्ड लर्निङ. किन त भन्दाखेरि अब सानो बच्चाहरू दे जस्ट स्पेन्ड 6 to 7 hours with us, बट रिमेनिङ आवर्स त तपाईँहरूसँग हुन्छ नि. जुन रूप हामीले एउटा स्कुलमा देखिरहेछौँ भने जुन नदेखेको रूप हुन्छ त्यो त पेरेन्ट्सले देखिराख्नु भएको हुन्छ, पेरेन्ट्सले बुझिराख्नु भएको हुन्छ, होइन? जुन म इन्ट्रेस्टको कुरा गरिरहेको छु त्यो इन्ट्रेस्ट कहिले कहिले हामीले नपक्रिन सक्छ, बट त्यही चिज बच्चाले पेरेन्ट्सलाई सेयर गरेको हुनसक्छ. सो पेरेन्ट्ससँग धेरै इन्भल्भमेन्ट हुन चाहिँ इट इज भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट भनेर भन्छ. द्याट्स वाइ वी अर्गनाइज टाइम एन्ड अगेन पेरेन्ट्स टिचर मिटिङ, होइन? त्यसै गरी अब कुनै प्रोग्रामहरू चाहिँ बच्चासँग पेरेन्ट्स पनि बसेर गर्ने, ओर टाइम अगेन पेरेन्ट्ससँग त्यसै कन्भर्सेसन गरेर ओके हाउ इज इट गोइङ, स्कुलमा यस्तो भइरहेछ, बच्चाले कस्तो रियाक्सन लिइरहेछ, अरू घरमा केही भइरहेछ भने वाइ डिडन्ट यु टेल अस, सो द्याट त्यस्तो केही इन्ट्रेस्टको कुरा छ भने वी क्यान प्लान आवर सिलेबस, होइन? इट्स नट द्याट हामीले प्लान गरेको चिज नै पढाउनु पर्छ भन्ने त हुँदैन नि त. द्याट्स वाइ पेरेन्ट्स आर अल्सो इन्भल्भ. लाइक कम्युनिटीको कुरा किन आउँछ भन्दाखेरि वी नो देयर इज मच मोर डाइभर्सिटी इन आवर कम्युनिटी, होइन? जस्तै कोही डक्टर होला, कोही पाइलट होला, होइन? कोही कार्पेन्टर होला, कोही कब्लर होला, उनीहरूको लाइफमा भएको डिफ्रेन्सेसहरू त देखिन्छ नि. जुन हुनसक्छ कुनै न कुनै टाइममा बच्चाले त्यतिखेर क्वेसन्स गर्न सक्छ क्या हजुरलाई. जस्तै अब डक्टर ठुलो घरमा बस्नुहुन्छ भने वाइ कार्पेन्टर चाहिँ सानो रुममा बस्नुहुन्छ, होइन? उहाँको एक्जिस्टेन्सलाई पनि इम्पोर्टेन्स दिनलाई चाहिँ वाट वी डु इज वी वी अर्गनाइज डिफ्रेन्ट एक्टिभिटिज जहाँ चाहिँ अब कहिले डक्टरलाई बोलाउँछौँ स्कुलमै, होइन? सो द्याट डक्टरको लाइफ कस्तो हुन्छ भनेर he can share his experience and all. Or पाइलटलाई बोलाउँछौँ लाइक ओके प्लेन भन्ने बित्तिकै त सबै बच्चाहरू रमाइरहेको हुन्छ सो पाइलटलाई नै लिएर आयो भने हाउ इन्ट्रेस्टिङ वुड इट बी होइन सो त्यही भएर चाहिँ कम्युनिटी डिफ्रेन्ट पिपलहरूलाई पनि हामी चाहिँ इन्भल्भ गराइदिन्छौँ सो लास्टली द डकुमेन्टेसन सो वाट इज डकुमेन्टेसन भन्नु पर्दाखेरि एक्चुली it's a process to know when, where, how did the child learn, and this is also the process to assess the children. Like अब कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि डकुमेन्टेसनमा चाहिँ मोस्ट अफ द टाइम बच्चाहरूले के कस्तो एक्टिभिटिजहरू गरिराख्नु भएको छ त्यो सबैको रेकर्ड गर्छौँ आइदर इट बी अ पिस अफ ड्रइङ होइन अब नाचेकै किन नहोस् बोलेकै किन नहोस् इट कुड बी भिडियोज होइन इट कुड बी साउन्ड रेकर्डिङ्स एनिथिङ यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले सेभ गरेर राख्नुपर्छ भनेर भन्छौँ कि सो द्याट बच्चाले पहिला र अहिलेमा के डिफ्रेन्स आयो त भन्ने चिज त्यो हामीले मजाले नेभिगेट गर्न सकौँ ओर एक्सप्लेन गर्न सकौँ एन्ड अदर थिङ इज बच्चाले गरेको कुनै पनि वर्कहरू दे आर सो मच अट्याच टु इट होइन उनीहरूलाई कति प्यारो हुन्छ हामीले एउटा खिचेको फोटो त हामीले 10 ठाउँमा सेभ गर्न गरिरहेको हुन्छौँ भने बच्चाहरूलाई पनि त उनीहरूको वर्क त्यस्तै प्यारो हुन्छ हामीलाई हेर्दाखेरि पो इट माइट लुक मिनिङलेस होइन ऱ्यान्डम ड्र गरेछ के हो न सेप छ न बााउन्ड्रीभित्र छ भनेर भनिरहेको हुन्छौँ बट एक्चुली बच्चालाई सोध्नुहोस् हिल ह्याभ अ ब्युटिफुल आन्सर किन बनायो कसरी भयो भन्दाखेरि बच्चालाई उसको इमेजिनेसन हो विच ही पोर्ट्रेड इन अन अ पिस अफ पेपर सो सकेसम्म त्यसलाई सेभ गरेर ओर अझै ब्युटिफुल पाराले तपाईँले अब डेकोरेट गरिदिनु भयो भने चाइल्ड विल अल्सो बिलिभ द्याट ओके मेरो पनि फिलिङ्स मेरो पनि एक्सप्रेसन्सलाई त भ्यालु गर्ने कोही रहेछ नि त सो नेक्स्ट टाइम म अझै भन्छु हि इज माई सोर्स अर सी इज माई सोर्स सो आई क्यान एक्सप्लेन एनिथिङ टु हिम भनेर बच्चाले त्यसपछि सेयर गर्न थाल्छ कुराहरू है so these were the 9 principles of Reggio Emilia approach. Now in the next slide Yajyu sir will be talking more about the roles of Atelierista.
Thank you. So Atelierista must be a very new word for lots of us here. So I'll be talking about the role of teacher and importance of art in Reggio. So अर्को स्लाइड्समा चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि what this image is really about. Here we can see there are a few kids who are exploring themselves together. And you can see there is this person behind and who is constantly just looking around and just stepping aside and just looking around. So Reggio ma sometimes teacher's role is just about observing the kids like we talked about. The teacher learns a lot in this process and the students are there to explore the questions like why and how and not just superficial questions like what. And so teacher ko role चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि यहाँ there are two major roles which is one of it being the role of an observer who is constantly silently observing the kids and other is to track the growth of the child. So there should be something so observe mata garera it doesn't really lead to big places but I think when the teacher starts observing and starts applying them in the classes and starts those observation to lead the classes, to lead the curriculum. And the teacher is also constantly tracking the growth of the child. And in the next slide, there is this role of art in the Reggio inspired school. त्यसमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि art is used not just as a language, not just as a subject, but it's used as a language. So art भनेर they're not just being taught to use few mediums very carefully. They're not just taught a skill. So art is something that binds the entire curriculum. It's something that just goes around everywhere in everything that kids do. So art is used more like a language because art is a language nita in the end, and it's something that we use to express something, our feeling or our thoughts and ideas and ke concept so not just in art class but in other classes too, in other subjects. So art is used as a language to transfer the information or get something creative out of the kids. There they encounter a wide range of media and materials in art, and they discover to look something very carefully. So art art is a subject where you get to put your thoughts and intention concept in whatever you're doing. You get to touch and you get to feel whatever you are working on. And you अनि चिल्ड्रेनहरूले युज गर्ने धेरै चिजहरूमा चाहिँ साङ्केतिक भाषाहरू धेरै युज भएर आउँछ एन्ड आई थिङ्क आर्ट इज अ ब्युटिफुल ल्याङ्ग्वेज द्याट युजेस दोज इमोसन्स टु गेट समथिङ आउट अफ युर सेल्फ सो अब आउने स्लाइड्समा चाहिँ सुजना विल बी टकिङ अबाउट इमर्जन करिकुलम
Thank you, Yajyu. Like immersion curriculum, like I said before, we won't be having any fixed curriculum. But कतिजना parents या normal peopleहरूलाई पनि के लाग्न सक्छ भन्दाखेरि करिकुलमै नहुने बित्तिकै फिक्स्ड करिकुलम नहुने बित्तिकै आई थिङ्क द्याट विल बी अ डिरेक्सनलेस हुन्छ नि के हुन्छ त रिजल्ट के हुन्छ त भन्ने क्वेरिज भइरहेको हुन्छ कि मेरो बच्चालाई आखिर जे जस्तो कुरा गरे पनि एसी नै दिनुपर्ने पर्छ नै होइन स्कुल अब नेपालको गभर्मेन्ट अनुसार नै छ सो मेरो बच्चा विल दे बी एबल टु जम्प फर्दर क्लासेस भन्ने त्यो काइन्ड अफ कन्फ्युजन भइरहेको हुन्छ सो आई ट्राई टु आन्सर दोज क्वेसन्स है जस्तै इमर्सन करिकुलम चाहिँ किन emphasize garchau bhandakeri chai here are a few of the examples that we've been trying in our school so for your picture ma you can see that the children are inspecting something haina so यो scenario के भएको थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब स्कुलमा there was like a small construction going on and त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ there were like pebbles there was like stones sand cement in अलिकति मेसी जस्तै देखिन्थ्यो है सो त्यो त्यतिखेर एकजना बच्चाले के भन्नुभयो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो स्कुल किन यस्तो फोहोर देखेको यो चीजहरु किन राखेको भनेर बच्चालाई एकदम झर्को बान्नु भयो कि and the teacher noticed his reactions हैन so that time the teacher thought that okay this is the right time I teach the children about what kind of materials are used for making houses or making any kind of construction sites भनेर she thought of introducing it so what she did was उहाँले सबै बच्चाहरुलाई स्कुलको टुर गराउनु भयो and then she started explaining see children these are not just simple things यो चीजहरुबाट चाहिँ के बन्छ भन्दाखेरि you can see our school हाम्रो स्कुल केले बनेको छ भन्दाखेरि this is made of these things sand चाहिन्छ sandमा सिमेन्ट मिसाउनु पर्छ त्यसपछि ब्रिक्स राख्छ त्यसपछि बिस्तारै त्यसलाई अट्याच गर्दै will make a beautiful building so you can अहिले यस्तो तपाईले फोटो देखिराख्नु भएको छ but after यो सिद्धेपछि हेर्नुस् you'll have something beautiful next to you भन्ने बित्तिकै बच्चाले चाहिँ के बुझ्नु भयो त okay this is not just a mess but something is going to come out of it something really beautiful भनेर they understood about this concept likewise in another example so actually a teacher was teaching something हैन but teacherले चाहिँ के पढाइराख्नु भएको थियो क्लासमा but suddenly what happened is like there was a climate change एक्कासीका बादल चाहिँ कालो बादल आएर चाहिँ it got dark all of a sudden so एकजना बच्चाको ध्यान त पढाइमा जाँदै गएन हैन then he started speaking के ला अँध्यारो भयो अब राति पर्यो भनेर भन्नुभयो अरे बच्चाले त्यो बोलेको सुन्ने बित्तिकै अर्को बच्चा इन्फ्लुएन्स भएर के भन्नुभयो राति भएको हैन अँध्यारो मात्र भएको हो भनेर भन्नुभयो अरे and again then another children अर्को बच्चाले चाहिँ के भन्नुभयो भन्दाखेरि ला अँध्यारो भयो मलाई लिनै आउनु भएको छैन म घर कसरी जाने भनेर बच्चाहरुको त्यो कन्भर्सेसन स्टार्ट भयो अब कुनै पनि नर्मल टिचर भएको भए चाहिँ they would just stop them के because टिचरले के पढाइराख्नु भएको छ उनीहरुको ध्यान कहाँ हो भनेर they'll start scolding but Reggio teacher knows that is the right time to get बच्चाहरुको actual reactions बाट नै के पढाउन मिल्छ भन्ने हिन्ट पाइहाल्नु भयो so what she did was she stopped whatever things she was teaching to the child अनि बच्चाले मा भइराको कन्भर्सेसन चाहिँ she started listening त्यसपछि एकछिनमा पानी पर्न थाल्यो then she took her child outside the classroom and they just enjoyed the rain त्यसपछि क्लासमा आएर म्यामले के सिकाउनु भयो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ ओके चिल्ड्रन अँध्यारो हुनु भनेको सधैँ राति नै हुने होइन कहिले कहिले पानी पर्दाखेरि पनि देयर सम क्लाइमेटिक चेन्ज बादल कालो हुन थालेपछि चाहिँ पानी पर्नलाई पनि राति हुन्छ भनेर त्यसरी चाहिँ डे एन्ड नाइट प्लस कतिखेर पानी पर्छ भन्ने चीज पनि सी इन्ट्रोड्युस अनि बच्चालाई ओके अब आफै सोच्नुस् त व्हाट डिड यु सी और व्हाट डिड यु फिल क्लाउड बनाउनु पर्यो भने कसो बनाउनु हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब कसैले व्हाइट क्लाउड बनाउनु भयो कसैले चाहिँ हैन पानी पर्दा त ग्रे नै हुन्छ सो आई मेक इट ग्रे और डार्क और ब्ल्याक भनेर त्यसरी different ideas were being portrayed in this beautiful project Likewise, in another example, and next slide, these are the very smaller ones actually. So सानोहरूलाई चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि they don't know the difference between a boy and a girl, होइन. That's why they've been saying that बाबुलाई नानु or नानुलाई बाबु. So यो इन्सिडेन्ट यो प्रोसेसमा चाहिँ के भइरहेको थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ एकजना गर्ल चाइल्डले नेल पलिस लगाएर आउनु भएको रहेछ, and there was another child who was a boy, उसलाई पनि लगाउनु पर्यो. Then he said नानु पनि लगाउने. त्यसपछि this attracted the teacher's mind. Okay, यो बच्चाहरूलाई त जेन्डरको बारे थाहा रहेनछ, so why not I teach them now भनेर what she did was just bodyको त्यसरी पोर्ट्रेटहरू बनाउन लगाउनु भयो. You can see in this picture. And त्यसपछि she slowly started demonstrating. Okay, boy भन्ने बित्तिकै के हुन्छ त, they'll keep their hair short, they'll wear caps, pant, t-shirt लगाउनुहुन्छ, they won't be wearing any accessories भनेर भन्नुभयो. अनि गर्लले के गर्नुहुन्छ त, गर्लले they wear frock, they wear skirts, they keep their hair long, they look so pretty, they wear accessories भनेर त्यसरी सिकाउनु भएपछि then they were able to understand who is boy and who is girl. So यसरी immersion curriculum यसरी नै आइरहेको हुन्छ हैन, यसरी नै प्रोसेस भइरहेको हुन्छ. So there's one topic, एउटा इन्ट्रेस्टको टपिक हुन्छ, so त्यसलाई डिफरेन्ट वेमा अलिकति घुमाएर बच्चाहरूको कन्सेप्ट चाहिँ क्लियर गरिदिरहेको हुन्छ. So this is all about immersion curriculum. In next slide, you just will again we're talking about it, but here is another example. जस्तै बच्चाहरू सधैँ त्यस्तो एक्सप्रेसिभ हुन्छ भन्ने पनि छैन है. जस्तै सधैँ बच्चाले मलाई यो गर्न मन लाग्छ, त्यो गर्न मन लाग्छ, अरू उसको मुड स्विङ नै भइरहेको हुन्छ. सो द्याट टाइम के गर्ने भन्दाखेरि टिचर, लाइक आई सेड बिफोर होइन, टिचरको पनि ब्याक अफ द माइन्ड प्लान भइरहेको हुन्छ. दे आर एक्चुली द ट्रेन टिचर, सो दे नो कुन बच्चालाई कतिखेर के सिकाउन मिल्छ भन्ने चिज उहाँहरूलाई थाहा छ. द्याट्स वाइ यो चाहिँ यस्तै कुनै एक दिन थियो जहाँ नोबडी वाज विलिङ टु एक्सप्रेस द थिङ्स, सो टिचरले चाहिँ सी जस्ट टुक इट like this. So it was a summer time, and summer भन्ने बित्तिकै summer is the king of fruits, हैन. So what she did was fruitsहरू लिएर आउनु भयो, different fruitsहरू लिएर आउनु भयो, and they just had a fruit party. And त्यही बेलाखेरि everybody was enjoying, but she also introduced this theme of what is multi-seeded fruit or what is single-seeded fruit भनेर पनि पढाउनु भयो, and the children, they really enjoyed this session. In next slide, Yajyu sir will be still adding few more points on this.
So yeah, so this entire presentation, we talked a lot about 100 languages. This presentation even was titled as Reggio Emilia, the 100 languages. So what actually is 100 languages? I'm sure most of you have even read the poem that was on the left side of the slides all the time. So the 100 languages stress गर्ने चाहिँ Reggio Emilia मा के हो भन्दाखेरि what actually is 100 languages भन्दाखेरि the child uses lots of languages to communicate and share their things, share their thoughts, ideas, concept, anything, and their emotions. So so sometimes school just becomes a place to learn few languages like reading and writing. And those are not the only ways that children express themselves. And some things just comes to them just naturally. Like some kids sing, some kids like to talk a lot, some kids like writing, some kids like acting, and some kids like drawing. And all of these things are considered as language, Reggio Emilia. And all of these things that comes to them naturally, they are expressed, and they are exposed to all of these languages, and all of these make up the 100 languages. These represent like infinite amount of possibilities that one can just express themselves very much naturally. So this is what 100 languages mean. Hamburg presentations, we have come to the end, but we're still very much open to the question where we'll discuss more about Reggio. Thank you. So if we have any question.
Yajyu and Sujana, for your presentations. I hope हाम्रो पार्टिसिपेन्ट्सहरूलाई अलिकति क्ल्यारिटी चाहिँ आयो होला रेजियो एमिलिया भनेको के हो भनेर चाहिँ हैन. So we have a couple of questions. च्याटमा पनि अल्का क्वेशन्सहरू छ. अनि त्यसपछि हामीले अस्ति नै हामीले जुन चाहिँ गुगल फर्म शेयर गरेको थियौं त्यसको थ्रुबाट पनि there are so many questions that we have received earlier. What I would like to request is if any participants have any questions, please send it to the chat. I will definitely have a look at the chat. Already questions. So to begin with, let me have a look at my questions. Okay. So Sujana, Sujana, your question. Reggio Emilia approach they started off in Italy, no? So Nepalको context ma, यो necessary छ त? How do we assess that it is important and necessary in Nepalese context as well?
Okay, thank you for your questions. So yes, this is definitely true that इटलीमा वल वर्कको सिनारियोले गर्दाखेरि त्यहाँको कन्डिसनले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब यो दिस गट इन्भेन्टेड भनौँ न. बट वी हेभ अ भेरी ब्युटिफुल स्टोरी बिहाइन्ड होइन. जे जस्तो लर्निङको कुराहरू छ, आई थिङ्क दिस they really do have a logic. So I would say नेपालमा मात्र होइन, it should be practiced in entire world. Why भन्दाखेरि because it is based on inquiry based learning होइन. Inquiry हुने बित्तिकै there will be the curiosity होइन. क्युरियोसिटी हुने बित्तिकै अब बच्चाहरूको डिफ्रेन्ट लेभल अफ क्युरियोसिटी हुन्छ होइन. अब त्यसमा पनि अब बच्चाहरूको क्युरियोसिटी अनुसार रेजियो एमिलिया अप्रोचमा चाहिँ कस्तो गर्छ भन्दाखेरि वी प्रोभाइड अपर्च्युनिटिज. अब अपर्च्युनिटिज प्रोभाइड गर्ने बित्तिकै बच्चाहरू चाहिँ अझै खुसी हुन्छ. दे अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड द्याट उनीहरूको जुन दिमागमा बसिरहेको वर्ल्ड अफ इमेजिनेसन हुन्छ एक्चुली द्याट क्यान ह्यापन इन रियल होइन. सो बच्चाहरूलाई सधैँ अब उनीहरूले इमेजिन गरेको वर्ल्ड डजन्ट एक्जिस्ट भनेर भनिराख्नु जरुरी छैन होइन. बरु उनीहरूलाई सकेसम्म अपर्च्युनिटी दिनुपर्छ भनेर जुन यो रेजियो एमिलिया अप्रोचले भन्छ, आई टोटली अग्री. हामीले बच्चालाई नर्मली यतिकै जज गर्नुभन्दा पनि उनीहरूको चिज उनीहरूले आखिर बुझ्न खोजिरहेको चिज के हो त होइन. बच्चालाई इम्पोर्टेन्स दिनुपर्छ. उनीहरूको हरेक थट्स हरेक इमोसन्सलाई एकदम इम्पोर्टेन्स दिनुपर्छ भनेर जुन यो फिलोसफीले भन्छ, विच आई थिङ्क इज अल्सो अ निड अफ अ नेपाली चिल्ड्रेन. अनि इट अल्सो बिलिभ्स इन सोसियल इन्टरेक्सन्स होइन. इन्टरेक्सन विथ पेरेन्ट्स, इन्टरेक्सन विथ कम्युनिटिज, इन्टरेक्सन विथ पियर्स, इन्टरेक्सन विथ टिचर्स, विच इज भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट. एकदम मोनोटोनस हुनु हुँदैन बच्चाहरूको पढाइ. अब अर्को आन्सर वुड बी इट्स अल्सो बिकज अब हामीले बच्चाहरूलाई अब एबिसिडी मात्र पढाउने होइन नि त. मेबी बच्चाहरूलाई एबिसिडी पढाइरहेको बेला they wanted to learn why A for airplane flies in the sky, or why A for apple falls from the tree, or why B for birds fly in the sky, or why there's the C for caterpillar turns into a butterfly. There might be a lot more questions in a child mind. And त्यस्तो एकदम एकोहोरो भएर पढाइराख्नु is not important. That's why हाम्रो नेपाली children मात्र होइन कि सबै childrenहरूलाई नै it is very important भनेर चाहिँ I would like to answer this question.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sujana. Now moving towards Yajyu. So you talked about the art aspect in Reggio. So what is the difference? How is art in Reggio different from normal curriculums? And how do you assess based on art? How do you assess your students based on art?
So yeah, that's a very good question. I think most people would ask, कि चाहिँ कसरी assess गर्छ? How is the examination going on to be, since त्यसमा केही emergent curriculum नभएकोले? So I genuinely believe assessment is very, very important to know where the child has reached, where he was. But I रेजियोमा चाहिँ there's this thing, documentation, where you can clearly know where the child has come from and where the child is heading. So documentation, there's everything that the child has been doing and has been exploring. So that's very good way, so that one can know where the child is heading towards and how child has progressed. When I think what's really important is finding out the interest of the child. So when the child is very much free, and the child starts exploring, and the way they are naturally something that it comes to them naturally. So this when we come to know about the child's interest, and this part of we come to know, that's also a kind of assessment that we examine the child. And there's like this thing called continuous assessment, that the child is not just assessed in like few months, like 3 month actually exam, we don't come to know the child has progressed. We continuously observe them. We are continuously observing every teacher is continuously observing. So we come to know not just if the child is good in studies, we come to know if the child has good behavior changes, good emotional changes. Some child just can't feel like other child, you know. So there should be emotional development also, and there should be physical development, you know. There should be psychological and mental development also. So यिनीहरू सबै चिज चाहिँ continuously उनीहरूलाई observe गर्दाखेरि they are assessed in all of these categories. And something कि चाहिँ अब the child does he or she talk to other kids, but they might be very good at something, but they do they have some communication skills, you know? So त्यस्तो चिजमा नि assess गर्छ. So I feel like this very much एकदम wholly चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई examine गरेको जस्तो लाग्छ, not just in few categories, hand-picked categories.
Okay. Usually एउटा question चाहिँ skip गरिदिनु भएछ. So how is art in Reggio different from others? So तपाईँले आर्टको एकदम धेरै स्ट्रेस गर्नुभयो थियो प्रेजेन्टेसनमा हैन? आर्टको अलिकति बारेमा भनिदिनु नि त. How is it different? How is art in Reggio different to comparative to the other?
Yes. So आर्टलाई चाहिँ अलि बेसरली स्ट्रेस गरेको हुन्छ इन रेजियो एमिलिया अप्रोचमा चाहिँ because art in here is, as I talked in the presentation, is not just a subject, you know? Art is not just a skill that one learns, you know? Not just something that they learn to draw beautifully and they become good artists. Art is used more like a language. Art is something that deals with creativity of the child, and creativity is required almost for everybody to make their life easier. Sometimes creativity is something that will just open up things in their mind, you know? So art in Reggio मा चाहिँ कसरी युज गर्छ भन्दाखेरि not just in art subject but every other subject, सबै सब्जेक्टमा चाहिँ they will be taught creatively using creative mediums, हैन? अनि उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ everything that they learn, even if they learn letters, they don't have to just go in that very traditional approach, but the teachers can apply some creative things. And then Atelierista को काम के चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि to incorporate art in whatever they are learning. So art चाहिँ त्यसरी incorporate भएको हुन्छ in Reggio Emilia, not just purely art पढाउने भनेर हैन कि, but little bits in everything.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yajyu. It's very interesting that art is also a part of education and the way we learn. So I have one final question for Sujana, and it's a very interesting question. So we talked about Reggio in preschool. So a lot of things that you talked about Reggio was focused in preschool. And I have a very interesting question. Is Reggio incorporated when they go to higher grades? So once from preschool they move into grade 1, or when they go up, how does Adhyayan actually use this Reggio approach in, let's say, school once they go into grade 1 and start studying? Sujana, do you want to unmute?
Okay, yes, I would love to answer that question. Like in Adhyayan, what exactly are we doing is this Reggio Emilia approach is especially focused on preschoolers rather than grade 1 and 2. I know this also implies for the further grades, but we are mostly emphasizing on the preschoolers for now. The question might be like again curriculum नहुने बित्तिकै, like when there is lack of curriculum, what might my child learn? Maybe after they reach to grade 1, they'll have some other things to learn. They'll have other more subjects to learn. भन्ने त्यो doubt भइरहेको हुन्छ भने actually there's nothing to worry about. I know. Actually, most of the people, what happens or what they feel is like, कुनै पनि बच्चाले whenever they do a mistake, they are so scared that it becomes a habit. होइन मेरो बच्चाले if they cannot learn something in this age, so what will happen if they go further grades? भन्ने त्यो doubt भइरहेको हुन्छ. Actually, everything will come under its place, but at the right time. But childhood is something they should very embrace about it. It should be filled with a lot more fun and activities. And as I said in my presentation, and I believe that this foreign learning approach can make the child even more brighter than the normal ones. You know, so definitely the things that the child learned will also be applied in the further grades because it builds confidence. You know, it confidence on a bit, there'll be future ready actually. Confidence on a bit decay, they'll also think that okay, whatever things I'm doing or whatever person am I trying to become is actually can happen. Vanida, they'll have that confidence. The confidence on a bit decay, definitely they can do much better in further grades.
Okay. So from your understand, from what you're saying, and something that I realized in your presentation as well is that radio helps students go curious, and I think
Yes.
that is something that is very interesting in children, and I just love
Mhm.
about children. So we
Exactly.
come to the question answer. We come to the end of our question and answers, and I would like to thank Sujana and Yajyu for their time and patience and their presentation and telling us all about Reggio Emilia. That I have seen a lot of questions about how can people in Nepal take Reggio Emilia. I see interest from elementary teachers who would like to learn about the subject. So Adhyayan Learning Center has come up with a solution for all of you who is interested to take part in Reggio Emilia workshops. Adhyayan Learning Center, we are offering a basic course of Reggio Emilia approach. Just let me share the basic outline of the course. We have a 6-day course, which is 3 hours per day, and we will be teaching the early education. So if you see, have a look at my presentation, you see the outline of this course, and anybody who is interested to join this workshop, you can contact me, you can drop in your email addresses in the chat, or we will get in touch with you as we have your email addresses. You have registered in the Google form. And if you haven't registered in the Google form, please send your email addresses in the chat, or you can get in touch with me. My email address is neha.adhyayan.edu.np, and I will be writing out my email address in the chat as well. So anybody who is interested to take a basic workshop on Adhyayan, on Reggio Emilia approach, if you think that you can teach your children, or as an elementary teacher you need this approach, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we will definitely be holding this workshop. So if you've noticed that the workshop is going to be for 6 days and it's only going to be for 3 hours. So depending on the feasibility of our participants, we will be either having it in the morning or evening, and that is yet to be decided. The course cost is 3,000 rupees, Nepalese rupees. I do see that we have a couple of people interested from foreign as well. So we can see how you would, if you're interested to join in, we would definitely see an approach on how we can get you involved as well. So if you have any further questions, please get in touch with me. I would just like to do a short explanation about our Adhyayan Learning Center. So as Adhyayan, there are 4 pillars. The first one is the Adhyayan School, which is from grade 1 to grade 10. The other is the Adhyayan Foundation, and the basic of which the basic intention through which we did the webinar is based on Adhyayan Preschool and the Reggio Emilia approach. And Adhyayan Learning Center is the newest member of the Adhyayan family, as we are trying to develop a training center and help people learn more and build their skills. So the mission of Adhyayan Learning Center is to foster and innovate holistic learning in education to training and development. So this is only focused for educators and learner. It's not necessary that you have to be an educator, but if you are really interested, this topic is intriguing for you and it's interesting for you, please feel free to join. And we would also want to create world-class educators in Nepal and create and spread information of this concept throughout Nepal. Our executing team is Mr. Sharon Arial, who is the Senior Director of Senior School. He has a huge experience in training and development and also in the Nepalese education industry. We have Rose Malla Upadhyay, who is the Director of Junior School of Adhyayan. She used to work with Rajri Gurukul, Rato Bangla, and she has 20 plus years of experience in teaching as well as school management. And I am the project manager of the Adhyayan Learning Center, and I look after the course modules and management of the entire Adhyayan Learning Center. So Adhyayan Learning Center has 3 core areas. The first area is Reggio Emilia approach, which we have done a webinar on today. The other one is design thinking and project-based learning. This is an approach, this is a training module which we'll be developing and taking in participants a bit later. First is Reggio Emilia approach, and the second is design thinking and project-based learning. And finally, it is infusion of technology and blended learning. So these are the three core areas on which Adhyayan Learning Center will be basing their modules and trainings. If you are interested, please feel free to get in touch with us, and to be very proud and to announce that Adhyayan Learning Center is the only learning center for K-12 education in Nepal that provides training and development in the above mentioned sectors. So we're very proud to announce that we'll be the first ones to be doing a basic course on Reggio Emilia approach in Nepal. Like, I would reiterate the idea that if you're interested to join, please feel free to get in touch with us. I will definitely leave my email ID in the chat box. And I do have one email ID from one of our participants. With this, the presentation and the webinar comes to an end. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and on this Saturday afternoon. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you so much. And this is the end. So if you have any, if you would like to leave your email addresses, please feel free to leave it in the chat. And we are definitely live on Facebook at Adhyayan School page. If you feel you need to refresh your memory, please visit Adhyayan School's page and have a look at this webinar. For now, we will be stopping the recording in Facebook Live. If I will also definitely leave my email address in the chat for those of you who are interested to, who would be interested to join our workshop and get in touch with us. Please feel free to do that. Thank you so much for your wonderful compliments and comments and time and energy for joining our workshop. I hope this was a wonderful session and you have learned something about Reggio and how to teach your small kids and the way they're going to learn from this.